It's time for the Douglas Coleman Show. Mr. Smooth and Savvy is joined by guests from all walks of life. From the entertainment industry to authors to political and social commentators. The famous and not so famous. The controversial and the light and fluffy. We have it all. Now, here is Douglas Coleman.
Howdy-howdy-o, hey-hee-hee-ha. Welcome to the Douglas Coleman Show. It's me, Douglas Coleman. Thank you for joining us. Always nice to have you here. I know I certainly enjoy myself when I'm here, so hopefully you do as well. Today is Authors Day. We've got two authors. The first one is Kim Interdonato. She's from Long Island, New York. And she's written a book called Shoes Are Like Men, which is a very funny title. And it's a very funny book that compares different styles of shoes with different types of men and their personalities. When she's not writing books, she is a skating instructor, and she has been for the last 25 years. She's working on her second book now, and it's going to be about her life as a skating instructor and a hockey instructor. She will be up first, followed by an old friend of the Douglas Coleman Show, Jane Yates. Jane has been with the show in one way or another since we started over 2 years ago. And she's got a new book out. It's an audio book, which is called Relax. And it's a meditation kind of thing for people who are grieving the loss of their pet, specifically a dog. It's a book designed to help people relax and fall asleep. And I was privileged enough to help her with the audio mixing and some of the sound effects work. And I'm pleased. I think it came out very well. The reviews are positive that are coming in. And as an added bonus to the Douglas Coleman Show listeners, we have 5 free downloads of the book Relax. To get your free download, please send us an email at radio@douglascolemanmusic.com. Please put the word relax in the subject line, and we will send you the link and the instructions and your code so you can obtain your free download of the book. We've got 5 free downloads, so the first 5 emails we receive will receive the free downloads. Again, that's radio@douglascolemanmusic.com, and please put the word relax in the subject line, and we will send you the information. We will be right back with Kim Interdonato. Okay, please welcome my guest, Kim Interdonato. Hi, Kim. How are you?
Wonderful. And yourself?
Oh, very well. Thank you. Thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate it. I was intrigued by the title of your book, and was one of the reasons that we contacted you. I wanted to hear more about it. Before we get to the book, however, if you could give us a little background on yourself, and just so people know who you are and what you've been doing for your life, and then we'll talk about your book.
Sounds great. My name is Kim Interdonato. I live here on Long Island, New York. It's absolutely gorgeous right now. I have been a professional skater for about 25 years, and now I'm specializing in power skating, which is hockey. And I wrote a silly little fun book called Shoes Are Like Men. It's quite comical, and it's got a little positive message to it, where I want everyone to start thinking about their dating on a more positive level. The more you can think positive about anything you do, the better the results are going to be. The book came about after a breakup from several gentlemen that I was dating. One guy for about a year, another guy for about 2 years. And I was looking at my dating in such a negative way that my girlfriend took me out to lunch, and I said, I'm done dating. I'm done doing this. And she told me, instead of looking at your dating as being such a negative thing, you should look at it as like trying on shoes. And I love going shoe shopping, so ergo the book.
Okay. I wanted to ask you something about skating. You had mentioned you were a professional skater for 20-some years.
Well, I was a competitive skater.
A competitive skater. Okay. Is that something people can make a living at doing? Or is it just something you do like on the side?
Well, yeah, believe it or not, I'm doing really well. As a matter of fact, my next book is coming out, hopefully, about skating, about power skating, being a woman in power skating in a man's world. I'm doing actually very well with it. I own my own home. I'm financially secure, and I have my own. I have a son, and I'm a single parent. So yeah, I'm doing very well. I've been doing it for a very long time.
Well, I guess I'm just naive to the realities of skating as a profession, as a career. How do you make money at it?
Well, I do lessons. I give private lessons.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And I do group lessons. So I have anywhere between children that are the age of 5, and I have kids that are about 18, 19, 20 years old that are going into college, and they're big boys that I teach how to play hockey. So I do the skating into hockey, which is very interesting, actually. It's fun. It's a very fun job. And then I have a couple of figure skaters left, but mainly my bulk of my work right now is in power skating, which is kind of unique considering I'm a shoe girl. I wear hockey skates every day.
Well, I was just thinking that people that are competitive skaters, generally the Olympics is kind of the, the brass ring, if you will. But even the Olympic athletes tend to get endorsement deals and things for their financial gain. The Olympics, doesn't pay
absolutely.
that much.
Absolutely. But, you got to think of it this way, too, that they only take 2.5 girls every 4 years. They're taking 2 girls and an alternate every 4 years for Olympics. But there's a lot of other things to do in skating. There's a lot of local competitions. There's a lot of, it's group lessons. There's, I teach, obviously. And, there's the rinks around hockey games. They're, constantly playing hockey. And all these kids need to learn how to skate to do so. And that's where I come in. And I have the most phenomenal job in the world. I have to say, I love my job. I am so blessed to have such a great job.
Now, are the actual skates different? Figure skates are different from hockey skates?
Very different. Yeah, the blade on the figure skate, the blade is actually longer, and the hockey skate, the blade is shorter. And it's a very different technique. But the edge work is pretty much the same. And that's what the next book is about, is because so many people are starting to realize now, the hockey players are all starting to realize that women make phenomenal power skating instructors. And that's what I've been doing. And I love the work that I've been putting out. It's been a whirlwind the last probably 5 years, but I've been very busy, and the work I've been putting out is amazing.
Why would women be better as instructors for that?
I don't want to say women in general, but figure skaters. Figure skaters, as being a figure skater, we know edge work very well. We do out control. We do, we do jumps and spins. But in order to do those kind of things, in order to do those elements, you have to be able to work an edge and be able to skate really strong and fast. And that's what a hockey player needs. You need to be able to skate strong, fast, and do lateral moves. Figure skaters master that on an everyday basis. So if you can transfer what you learn from figure skating and put into a hockey lesson, it's amazing. And it's been my hockey lessons are phenomenal. I love doing them. I love being I love the job that I'm doing now.
Well, I guess as a comparative, you know who Gene Kelly was? He was a very famous dancer back in the...
Of course.
Yeah,
of course.
He taught boxers how to move. And so...
Very good comparison.
Yeah, maybe there's something, okay. Just because I remember there was a show that he did. It was like a TV special back in the 50s. And he was teaching, at the time, I think it was Sugar Ray Leonard or Robinson, one of those guys, teaching them how to dance, but how to move in the ring, too. All right, let's talk a little bit about your book. Your book is called Shoes Are Like Men. The obvious joke is that it's the dating thing is you trying on shoes. and the men are either too big, too small, or they fit just right. Is that, tell us, tell me what your angle is on this. Shoes are like men.
I think with doing this book, everyone has a different angle on this book, and it's kind of funny to hear what people would think. Like some guys are, most men usually like to know about it because they like to know if they're either a loafer or if they're, the hot shoe. They want to know what shoe they are. I compare like different shoe styles, like a hot shoe, the shoes you get online, the shoes that you give to charity. I take all the different shoes and all these crazy different scenarios, and I put man's personalities to it. Like your charity shoe. Your charity shoe isn't probably, anybody can think of what their charity shoe would be, but my charity shoe would be the guy that, I gave away a whole bunch of shoes to charity. And then as I was putting the shoes in the bag, I would put them in the bag. I would take them out of the bag. I put them in the bag. I would take them out of the bag. And then it turned out to be, I was the guy I was dating. I was, I kept breaking up with him. I kept going back with him. I kept breaking up with him. I kept going back with him. So, and there was, and then the chapter would go on to, the scenario that, what happened between me and this gentleman. And of course, we all love that hot shoe. Come on, every girl wants to wear that hot shoe. We all have a guy that we just, are just gaga and head over heels for, no pun intended. And, we tend to fall for this guy, but they hurt after a while. He's a player kind of guy. He like leaves you, it's like the high heels. There's the ones that you're walking on all night and you get blisters at the end of the night.
But you look fabulous when you're wearing them. You're
darn right. That's what I said in that chapter. I look great going into that relationship, but man, when I came out of it, I was limping.
All right, I can see this. This is actually very interesting. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the different kinds of shoes and how they would match up with different types of guys. The stiletto, okay, I can just sort of picture that guy. He's the real good-looking guy, well-dressed, driving a fancy car, smooth-talking kind of a playboy type guy, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, what about flip-flops?
I actually didn't put a flip-flop in there, but that would be a very interesting kind of guy, wouldn't it be?
Yeah.
That'd be the guy that just keeps, you go out with or you don't go out with. He was my charity shoe, I guess. I put it in a different way. But I guess it's all the way you can look at some guys.
All right. Well, now you got me thinking. Let's see. What other kind of shoes are there? Okay, loafers. See, some of these, the name just implies the personality. Flip-flop and loafer. Just the lazy couch potato kind of guy, just wants to be comfortable and not do anything at all.
Those are like your bedroom slippers. I tried to make it where I made it interesting, but vague enough where when you're reading the chapter, you heard my take on what I thought the guy would be. But I wanted my readers to read it and look at it and go and kind of laugh and go, okay, that's what she thinks, but I think my comfy shoe is this, or my online shoe is this. Because I've dated a lot of online too, and that was one of the other chapters was dating, shoes that you buy online, and they're never quite what they look like online. I mean, these guys are phenomenal looking online, and guys, believe me when I tell you, I did not man bash at all. So if any of you have gentlemen listeners out there, please don't call me up and say that, oh my God, Kim Donato is bashing me. Believe me when I tell you, I did not. Matter of fact, I love men. I date you all the time. I actually make fun of myself more than I make fun of, men. And even women. And I wrote that even in the chapter of the online. I mean, even us women, we put on pictures on our profiles that were 10 years younger than we really are,
Oh, sure. I mean, I think a lot of people are guilty of that when they put on online profile. It's when it's ridiculous. Then what do they call it? Catfishing.
Yeah, there you go.
When it's a 65-year-old guy and he puts a picture of a 20-year-old guy, that's just, outright perjury. But, I know what you're saying. So, okay, so the shoe that would be those elevator shoes, yeah? Make you like 4 inches taller than you really are.
What, the wedges? They are, yeah.
Yeah. I forget what they're called. Yeah, wedges, or there was the ones that had the lifts on the inside, so they didn't look like they were,
Oh, that's funny. I actually dated a guy when I was younger, and he actually used to put decks of cards into his boots
Oh,
because I'm so
God.
tall. Just to make himself seem taller. That's kind of it reminded me of that poor guy. Boy, I really did a number on that poor man.
Well,
I hope the guy didn't.
how tall are you, if I might ask?
I'm 5'8", so on high heels, I'm about 6 feet, and then I get to like, and I'm wearing hockey skates all the time, so I give off a very tall presence. Just put it that way.
Well, 5'8" would be an average height for a woman, but yeah, if you're with the heels on, you could be 6 foot and be taller than probably most guys. Give me a couple other examples of different kinds of shoes as they relate to men's personalities.
Let's see. We also have our designer shoe, which I always found that, it was the guy that I just couldn't keep up with. He was always like, we're taking you to fancy places, going here, going there. But I always seemed like I had to pay for, I had to pay for things. I always had to pay for, the shoes, or I had to pay for something. I had to always keep up with this guy. I dated a guy that, he was like a designer shoe. He was like, it was very expensive. We wanted to go to fancy trips, but I had to pay for my own way. I was like, oh my God, this is getting way too expensive. I really just can't afford this guy. I had to actually get rid of him because I just couldn't afford him. I couldn't afford hanging around with him. I couldn't keep going on these vacations. I couldn't afford it. And then, of course, you got your broken shoe. I mean, those are the guys that you always want to fix. I mean, us women, we have that Florence Nightingale, personality. I know I do. I had many guys that I was going to fix. Like after their divorces, I was going to fix them, and they were going to fall in love with me and be mine forever. Well, I'm single, so we see how that's working out.
You brought up an interesting point. I don't mean to deviate from what we're talking about, but I wanted to ask you about it anyways. You talked about the designer shoe and about how, you ended up paying for things when you went out. Is it expected these days that men should pay for the woman when they go out on a date? Or is that kind of old-fashioned at this point?
That is a little old-fashioned. And, most of the dates that I go on, I mean, I have really dated some very nice gentlemen that were very kind to me. And then I've dated some other guys that were, a little bit, a little more frugal, I want to say. And, but this guy, he was a really great guy that I dated. It's just like, he just wanted to do so much stuff that, he wanted to live a lifestyle that neither him or I could have kept up with. And, it was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm like, this is just way too expensive for me. But, for the most part, guys are very generous. I will say it. And I like being treated like a lady. I do. I like when a guy pays for dinner. But, I also think as women, you go on a couple of dates, 3 or 4 or 5 dates, you can buy a drink or two. It doesn't, it's not going to hurt anything.
Well, the guy that was the broken shoe, it sounds like, was he just doing that to try to impress you? Like he was living way beyond his means?
That was a different guy. The broken shoe was a guy. I actually dated 2 broken shoes in a row, I think. I dated 2 guys fresh off in a divorce. And I think when people my age, I'm 45, and when people my age are, most guys are just getting out of the divorces. They've been married for 20 years. They've been married for 15 years. The last thing they want is like this really steady, hot and heavy girlfriend. They just want to kind of go out there and date as many women as they want, or as many as women they can. And they should, here I was being stupid and going, I'm going to get them to a divorce, and then I'm going to be the savior, and then they're going to be with me. And that's just not the truth. That's a little unrealistic.
I knew a couple of guys like that who were married. They got married very early in life, probably too early, 20 or 21 years old. And after 20 years of marriage, it just fell apart. The kids grew up and moved out. And I think that was probably why they stayed together for the kids. But then once the kids were in college, then that's it. There was nothing left of the relationship. But these guys I thought were pathetic because they wanted to go back to when they were 20 years old. And they were out partying every night, drinking, carrying on. And I thought, man, this is wrong. This is just wrong.
Reboot. It's like a reboot. I think they feel like they need a reboot. And you know what? I think whatever makes you happy, you should do. And, I live a very conservative, someone told me this, and I thought this was the best way to describe me. I live such a conservative life that I have a very liberal way of thinking. And I think whatever makes you happy, go for it. Because, life's a short deal, and if that makes you happy, do it. And even I tell all my girlfriends, they always ask me about, dating advice. And now with the book, people have been asking me so much dating advice. I said, listen, I have been divorced twice. I've dated for 30 years. I mean, maybe I'm the last person to talk about dating advice, but I will tell you, be happy and enjoy the moment. Because, it does go by fast. And I'm trying to live in the moment. And that's a really hard thing to do. And that's a hard thing for most people to do, is live in the moment. I was always looking for a future, and I was always wanting something more from men. And it really kind of wasn't shame on them. It was more shame on me. You got to live in the moment. And, I'm not saying not make plans with them, but, or have, some kind of future if that's what you want. But you guys both got to be on the same page. I was always dating guys that I was on page 1 and they were on page 5, or, vice versa, so I had to kind of regroup. I think that's where my dating relationships all failed.
I guess what I meant with those guys was that you said about living in the moment, and I agree with you. And I think, to be happy is fine. The problem was they were trying to recapture a moment that happened 20 years before. And I think they were just kidding themselves. And that's why though it looked like, I'm having so much fun, now he's 20 years older and he's still getting drunk every night like he's in college. I don't know. It seemed counterproductive.
I get that, because there's women that are my age that are wearing clothing or wearing things that they shouldn't be wearing, and you're like, oh, well, relive your 20s. The past is the past. You got to look, and I agree with you on that. I mean, there's no reason to be out drinking and drunk every night. And you have to have some kind of responsibility, especially in your 40s.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I did it completely the opposite. I stayed single until I was 44. So I got all that out of my system first. And then, when I hit my 40s, I thought, well, okay, I guess I better settle down now, So I feel like, I don't mean to sound like, I did it the right way, because there are people that were married in their 20s that lived till their 80s and died together. But for me, it wouldn't have worked. If I had gotten married at 20 years old, I would have been just like one of those guys, probably worse. I guess it depends on your mindset. If you're ready to make that commitment at 20, people like my grandparents, that was their only choice back in those days. There was fewer options than now. Now women have careers as much as men do. And I think it takes more time for people to kind of adjust themselves and get all that me out of their system. And then they can adjust to us, because it is a big adjustment. It's a huge adjustment. And
I have to agree with you. It is. And any relationship is hard. And I try to, even like people that ask me about advice and stuff, I said, listen, any relationship that you're in is going to be hard. And, you're going to have to, you got to deal with a lot of people's baggage when you're dealing with relationships. And, whether you're in a relationship with your wife, your kids, your family, it's, no relationship is easy. And you got to, I think just be happy for yourself. And that's a hard thing, it really is. And I have to tend to agree with you. And, what's going to work for you might not work for me. I got married, I was young, and then I got divorced a couple of years later. And then I hit the panic button in my late 30s, and I wanted to have a child and get married. And that didn't work either. So that scenario didn't work for me. So now I'm like, I think after all this dating and married and remarried, and I think I'm a lot more grounded, and I learned to expect less and, expect less from other people and more from myself.
Well, in your bio, you said you have an 8-year-old son. So that certainly is going to take up some of your time and your energy, and get rid of some of the me stuff for him, right? Yeah.
And when you're a parent, listen, not every parent's the same way, but I'm a very involved parent, and I love being around my kid. I love being around my son. I don't bring him around my dates, unless it's somebody that I know is going to be, I'm going to stay with, because I don't want to confuse him either.
Well, that's probably a nice idea. Yeah. I don't know how I would have felt like that. I had the mom and dad who just stayed together forever, but if I was growing up with a single parent, I don't know how I would react, you know. I can't think in my mind being 8 years old and, you know, mom having different guys coming in, and, you know, I don't know how I would have reacted to that.
I had all of those scenarios. I lived at my grandparents, which were stayed together, you know, until the day they died, literally 3 weeks, you know, between each other. Then I had my father, who got remarried right away. So he was with a woman already. And then I had my mother, who dated all the time. So I had all these different scenarios going on in my life. So I kind of got to see everything. And, but I learned a lot, you know, I did learn a lot from my mom. My mom is a strong woman. You know, she dated a lot, and, she's strong. She's tough. And my dad, he met the woman he was supposed to be with. So I always think, you know, just because things didn't work out with my mom and dad, I'm glad that he met my stepmother, because they're so perfect for each other and they worked out. And now my mother is remarried, and now she's married to somebody that I absolutely adore also. So I was very fortunate in being able to see so many different aspects. I think that's why my mind is so broad, and I'm so liberal in my thinking.
Well, that's good. Yeah, that is a full spectrum of relationships that you had. Maybe that's why the book came to mind. How did you decide on this book, on the concept? I
was really lonely. You know what? And I was very sad about my dating. And, you know, a couple of guys asked me out, and then never, you know, I met them in parties, and they were like, okay, we'll take you out, and then never took me out. And I was getting more depressed. And I was thinking, you know, this isn't a reflection of me. This is a reflection of the people that I'm meeting. I have to change it around. I was thinking so negative, so I was getting negative results. And I ended up taking my computer, taking my little ideas in my head, and going out to restaurants and just kind of being by myself and getting used to myself and getting, you know, learning about myself. And in learning about myself, I found I was really funny. You know, I'm a pretty funny girl. And I was like, wow, you know, I have all these great thoughts. So I started writing, you know, as I said, took the computer and started writing them down. And before I knew it, it metamorphosed into a really funny little book. And I didn't make the book long. And there's a reason why I didn't make the book long. It's a short book. It's only 42 pages. Because when you're dealing with, I mean, I've read so many dating books. And after a while, you turn to the author and you're like, oh my God, now I wonder why nobody wants to date you. You're winded, you're annoying, and you keep going on negative about the same damn thing. Guys suck. And I didn't want my book to be like that. I wanted my book to be like, you know, funny, light reading, because most people that are reading this book don't have the time to sit there and get involved, but it's enough that it's gonna spark a conversation, and that you're gonna laugh about it, and that the character, which is me, is gonna stay in your mind and go, you know what, she can do it, so can I. I've been through it. She's been through it. I went through it. We all go through it, and it's funny. It's not funny when you're going through it, but if you can take a step back of your dating, it is kind of funny.
Well, it definitely makes you think, and the title is great.
Thank you.
I did want to mention that picture I saw on your website of you with Alec Baldwin. Was that at a book signing?
Yeah, we went to a book signing. He was out in East Hampton, and I was at a book signing there. He came into the bookstore that I was doing the book signing in, just by chance. And he was very, very nice. A nice man. Everybody that's read the book has given me nothing but positive feedback. And I'm surprised, because this was my first book that I ever wrote. And I would thought that it would even get like negative, you know, somebody would say something negative. The only thing is, you know, people I think get a little turned off, like men, a little bit with the title. They're like, oh yeah, you know, what crazy woman is probably just bitching about men. And really, I wasn't. And in the first chapter, I make sure I clarify the fact I was not man bashing.
Okay, so how's the book doing?
It's doing very well. I've been getting a lot of positive feedback. I've been lucky with my first book. And even Amazon reviews have been great. You know, if anybody wants to leave a review, please do so. You know, I do have a website. You're more than welcome to contact me. I'll talk about dating advice if you want any from me. I'm more than happy to talk to any of my readers. It's shoesareLikeMen.com. It's the best way to get in touch with me. You can see my emails on there. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And, you know, I've been very fortunate.
Well, super. And you got another book coming out, right? Or it's in the works?
Actually, yeah, it should be out. It's going to the editor next week or the week after. It's not as silly, but it's got a great positive message, another positive message. It's called Heels and Hockey Skates. It's about a woman doing power skating. And I think that one's really, really interesting. And my editor and my publisher absolutely love this one that's coming out. They think it's got a great message.
Well, great. We'll look forward to that. Kim, thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun talking to you. And actually, I'm thinking now all the different kinds of shoes and how they relate to men's personalities. You could probably do it the other way around, too. You know, shoes are like women. Maybe some man should write that book. I don't know.
Actually, my guy friends asked me to write something like that, and I said I would absolutely get on that by maybe next year. I thought that would be a great way to do that for the guys.
Could be a sequel. Yeah, there you go. Okay, Kim, thanks a lot. Thanks for coming on the show. Enjoy.
Have a great night.
Take care.
Take care.
You're listening to Mr. Smooth and Savvy right here on the Douglas Coleman Show. We'll be right back after these commercial messages.
Hi there, this is Stuart Epps from the UK, record producer, engineer. You might have heard of me. I've worked with artists from Elton John to Led Zeppelin to Bad Company, Twisted Sister, Robbie Williams, Oasis, many, many great bands and artists in the past and the present and hopefully in the future. But you can work with me as well. You know, all you got to do is get in touch with me on eppsmusicproductions.com. That's EWPSproductionsmusic.com. And I can help you with your productions and with your recordings. A lot of people do home recordings now, which you can only take so far. Maybe they need a bit of professional help. So get in touch with me and we can sort it out. And thanks for Douglas Coleman for giving me this spot. Thanks a lot. Cheers, bye.
Acclaimed author of Garden, Jane Yates brings you the first book in a new trilogy, Octopus Pirate, a story of a foundling who has unusual talents, such as the ability to communicate with octopuses. As a baby, he was washed up on an island off the Scottish mainland. An eccentric former nun who lives alone with cats brings him up. He joins a circus and narrowly escapes plots against him, flees to Cornwall, builds a replica pirate ship that's also an airship to travel back in time to fight real pirates. Get your copy today from Amazon, only 99 cents.
And now...
Hey, Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat. See? Nothing up my sleeve. Presto! Wrong hat.
Now here's something we hope you'll really like.
Okay, please welcome back to the Douglas Coleman Show our old friend, Jane Yates. Hi, Jane. How are you?
Hi, Douglas. And here I am as myself and not Periscope girl for a change.
Right. Well, I was going to mention that. In fact, I was going to go through briefly our whole history. You have been with the show in one capacity or another since the beginning. And you started out being a follower, and then we had you on as Periscope girl for a bit. And you've maintained a following of the show and the support of the show. So I want to say thank you very much for that. Tell people a little bit about what Periscope Girl was, for people who don't know.
Periscope is an app. I'm still using it. It's pretty much kept the same momentum because Facebook Live has also brought an app out which does a similar thing. And I just go around colleges in Oxford and talk about history I love or places I love and nature. And really, it was you and your show that gave me the opportunity to promote my Periscopes, and it gained me a lot of followers and recognition. So thank you very much for that.
Well, is it still as hot as it was? Because I remember when it first came out, everybody was all keen on it. And I don't hear anything about it now.
It's mostly listened to, or watched by people who haven't got English as their first language. That seems to be the majority of the people that tune in, and they're all texting each other over my Periscopes in other languages. I don't know what they're saying because I'm dyslexic, so English is my only language. But I still got some of my very old faithful followers who followed me from day one and still sort of tune in. So it's a real mixture. but hasn't got the same momentum. It hasn't gained any new ground. Do you know what I mean? It's not got any. I thought it was going to be huge, and it doesn't seem to have quite made it. Well, but I am addicted to it.
It seemed to me like when it first came out, it was like this giant bang, and then it just sort of fizzled.
Yeah, I think it's still fizzling, but it's difficult to give up, like smoking.
Yeah, true.
Got to wean yourself off it. You need periscope patches.
So you are from Oxfordshire, right? And
in England.
And you live there in the UK. That is the home of Harry Potter, I think, at least theoretically, right?
Yes, a lot of Harry Potter was inspired by Oxford, Christchurch College. The dining hall there was the inspiration for the dining hall, but the actual college dining hall has only got 3 tables, and as all Harry Potter fans know, there's 4 houses in Harry Potter, so they didn't film it in there. They actually just took the inspiration for it, but they did film in some of the cloisters, and also in New College, another college, The Tree was filmed there, and other places around Oxfordshire as well.
And also Brideshead Revisited a lot of film was shot around there as well.
Oh, yes. Yeah, there's so many films. In fact, there's going to be a brand new one. I was in a little museum in the University Press. It's going to be a brand new film made about the University Press with Mel Gibson and what's his name?
Sean Bean?
The one who married Madonna.
Oh, Sean Penn.
Yes, Sean Penn. Yes, as playing 2 English people.
Oh God, that should be.
But he did a very good job in Braveheart playing a Scottish person. So
and Mel Gibson's Australian, so he's somewhat.
He's Australian. I thought he was American.
No, he's originally Australian. He's just been living in the United States forever. So, but he can switch the accents on and off. It's part of being a good actor, and I think Sean Penn can as well. I think he's an excellent actor. I've seen
so it'd be an interesting film. I'll definitely be hanging around.
What I find interesting is that a lot of British actors can also switch off the British accent and do a really good American accent. Which
can they?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to tell.
Ben Whishaw is one of my favorites these days, and he can do that. He was in a couple of films where he played an American, and you couldn't tell. You absolutely couldn't tell at all that he was British. He was in that movie Perfume, the one that you recommended.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
right,
him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
And he's also
another good English actor, a Scottish actor who can doing American actors. I'm rubbish at names, so you have to help me out, Douglas. He was in Trainspotting.
I don't know.
Main character in Trainspotting.
It's been too long since I've seen that one.
Oh, wow.
Anyways, so you're also an author. That's primarily what you do, yeah?
Yeah, I am an author. I write steampunk books. I've got 5 steampunk books out at the moment.
5? Okay, well, I've got the ones that I had written down for you were A Garden and Octopus Pirate.
Octopus Pirate, and then 3 Paradox Childs as well. They were my first books.
Oh, right.
Influenced by the Pitt Rivers Museum.
Tell people what steampunk is.
It's quite hard to explain. It's quite a modern idea. I think it started in the 70s. But if you imagine that you were a Victorian person, imagining what the future would be like, trying to imagine what the future would be like. So you might imagine there'd be ray guns or spaceships or something.
Flying cars.
It's all got to be made out of materials that were only available in the Victorian period. So brass, copper, wood, airships, things like that. And then the clothes would be sort of a mixture of Victorian and futuristic. So that's the genre. It's proper genre.
I love that period of time, the Victorian period, and particularly the Edwardian period.
We've discussed this before, haven't we?
And if I could go back in time, I would love to go back to the Edwardian days, just right at the time that Queen Victoria died and Edward took over the throne. That would have been like 1901. And
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I would love to be able to go back in time and just have lived then. But the problem is, if one were to go back to that time, one would have to be in the right class, because if you were in the lower classes, life was pretty grim for people who were, working in those awful factories. But if you were of the upper classes, life was tremendous for those people then, because there was no income tax, there was no, you were really, really free, just to do whatever you like. And
it's interesting you say that, because my first 3 books, The Paradox Child, are based in the Pitt Rivers Museum, which is Victorian museum. And then the main characters, which are a family of Reiki female witches, use the objects in the museum to go back in time, and they do go back to that time, that period. So obviously I've got the same exact yearning as you have. But we can't go back in time yet, but can imagine it and travel with books. You can go back in time with books in your head. Or with film, of course.
With film, yeah.
Or audio.
So speaking of audio, the latest book that you did was called Relax, which I helped you out on the audio bit.
Yes, thank you.
And
you shined it. You polished it.
Thank you.
And added magic.
I had. It was fun. I enjoyed doing that. Basically, it's about people who have lost their dog and need something to sort of get through that grieving period. I know we've talked about dogs, and I have 2 now.
Mm-hmm.
The puppy is giant. He's 52 kilograms, and he's 9 months
Good
old.
grief.
And the little one is still the boss because he's 4 years old. And it's funny, dogs with their sort of pecking order and hierarchies, even though this one is enormous and the other one is just a little tiny thing, he's still the boss of the big dog and always will be.
Don't you find that in people, though? Little people are always the boss.
True, but with the dogs, it's sort of, they set that up with themselves. He said, well, I'm older, I was here first, this is my house. And when we brought the puppy in, they didn't get along at first. They really didn't like each other. Well, the older one didn't like the puppy. The puppy was all crazy for everyone, but it took a while for him to sort of warm up to the puppy. And even now, he puts the puppy in its place. And the puppy knows where his boundaries are with the other dog. So it's very funny how they set that up, the sort of, I'm the alpha male. And it's particularly funny given the size difference between the two, because the little one literally can go right underneath the puppy. Right underneath, walk right under, like he's a bridge of some sort. But it's very funny.
A lot of enjoyment.
Yes, I enjoy him. Well, I tell you, I think I've said this before, but I tend to love my dogs better than I do most people. Because dogs...
You're not alone.
Yeah, well, all you have to do with a dog is you just feed them and you love them. And they will be your best friend for life. They don't lie, they don't cheat, they don't break your heart. And they don't deceive like people do. They're very honest with their emotions, and they just become so part of your family that I know when you lose one, it's very difficult. And I know you had a hard time with Mandy. Tell us a little bit about Mandy. How old was Mandy?
She was 12, but she had cancer and arthritis, and she was a purebred Springer Spaniel, so they don't live as long as
the mixed breeds.
The mixed breeds. And I was devastated when she went, because all my children have grown up and left the home, and I'm a single lady. And she, the hardest thing for me was sleeping at night, because I was so used to her sleeping on the end of my bed, and she used to snore really loudly. And I'd really become accustomed to this snoring, and I found it really relaxing. I know it's normal to grieve after the loss of a dog, and because, as you said, they provide unconditional love and friendship. I did find that my friends didn't really understand a lot of the, the non-doggy people. They'd sort of say, "Oh, go and get another one," but you can't replace. Mandy was irreplaceable. She was my best friend, and they all have their, like you said about your dogs, they all have their little quirks and their little individuality.
Oh, sure.
And it's not as, I have lost both parents, and I'm not saying it's as bad as losing a human person, but at the same time, there is so much more support when you lose a human person. You can go to your doctor, you can get medication, you can get counselling. Your friends and family are more prepared to sit and listen to you talk endlessly about your mother, but their patience runs a bit thin when you're trying. You can't really talk about it. And also with loss of a human, you can have a funeral, but I didn't even have Mandy's ashes, so she was there and then she wasn't there. It was really hard, and as you know, I'm a dyslexic, so I find reading quite hard, which is one of the reasons I turned to audiobooks. But also, I have recurring depression. I was introduced to meditation by one of the doctors. When I couldn't sleep, I sort of turned to the audiobook community to try and find some sort of audio that was about losing a dog and then relaxing and trying to sleep. And there was nothing, absolutely nothing at all. And so I thought, and I knew my daughter Emily was suffering also, because she's 23 and Mandy had been around for most of her life.
Right.
And so I thought, I've just got to make this, and hopefully it will help other people. And I thought, how am I going to make this? And then I remembered my wonderful friend, Douglas Coleman. And I said, "Oh, Douglas, would you help me make this?" And you kindly offered to help, and you gave so much advice. I'd never made an audiobook before. I didn't know how to set up the microphone. You told me how to set up the microphone. You sent me screenshots of what the sound should sound like. So much help. And it took us a long time, actually, didn't it, Douglas, to get it all together, I think.
Well, we had to do it twice, because the first time they didn't accept it. It was unsatisfactory. So we had to do it again. But in a way, I think you said, and I agreed, that it was probably just as well that we did it again, because we learned sort of what not to do and how to get it absolutely perfect. When we did it the second time, it indeed was. And I think your reviews, you said you were getting a couple of good reviews. So I'm pleased with what we did. So I think after all of our work, having to do it again, I think it was worthwhile. And I think we learned something. It came out actually better the second time. So all is good.
Yeah, I was grateful, actually, that we had, you were generous and gave me the opportunity to do it again, because I think it sounded more authentic the second time around, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, it was sort of, I guess the first one was the dress rehearsal, and then the second time was the actual performance. But we did sort out your microphone issues, and certainly you sounded a lot better the second time round when we got the settings right and got you situated at the right distance to the microphone and all that kind of technical stuff. So it was okay. It all worked out well.
I was going to say that it's quite strange, because I gave a copy to one of my friends who hasn't got a dog to listen to, and he lived in a house with the dog next door that he saw every day, and he used the meditation thinking about that dog, because he had trouble sleeping, because it's really hot here at the moment in England, and we're just, English people are not very good in the heat. So having trouble sleeping, and he said that he used the relaxed meditation and just thought about this dog. And then he fell asleep and he found it really relaxing. And I think that's the point. I don't know whether you meditate, Douglas, but it is a very hard skill to learn. I had tremendous trouble because as soon as you lay down, you try and concentrate on the words or the music, your mind wanders off, and you've come to the end of it without actually paying attention. In this audiobook, where you have your memories of a dog to accompany on the journey, or the meditation journey, it gives you somebody else to focus on, and it helps to keep you in the story, in the meditation, in the relaxation. It gives you a better connection, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I don't meditate. I haven't taken it up or sort of studied it in any way, but I do take a lot of, I don't want to say naps, but I get to that point where it's sort of that twilight period where you're not quite asleep, but you're not fully awake either. I don't know if that would be considered meditation or not, but I lie down.
I think that's napping.
Okay. And I close my eyes and everything shuts off for a little while, but I'm not in a deep sleep. I suppose that's just a nap, yeah. So I do that, guilty
You're
of
so
that.
Funny.
But I find those very refreshing. If I lay down for just an hour, I'm ready to go again. That's how I can keep my schedule going.
Power napping, don't they? I think some of the bigger companies do that. They actually have like a space where people can go and have a power nap. So what you're doing is power napping.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds about right. So, how is the book? The book is officially out now, Relax.
Yeah.
And it's on Amazon Audible. You've got some reviews. Do you have one review that comes to mind that you want to share?
Oh, I'll just look it up.
Okay.
But also, partly going back to Periscope and Periscope Girl and everything.
Yeah.
That the Periscope community, especially the American Periscope community, are in part responsible for me having the confidence to make this audio book, because I never liked my voice as a child, and at school I even had a stutter because I was so nervous, and being dyslexic and everything, I didn't have a lot of confidence. And then when I first started doing Periscope, the audience kept saying, especially the Americans again, kept saying, "Oh, Jane, you've got a lovely voice, you've got a lovely voice." And then to begin with, I thought they were taking the mickey. Mm-hmm. I really did think they were taking the mickey. And I said, no, I haven't got a lovely voice at all. I pay other people to read bits of my book out because I think their voices are nicer. And then in the end, it took about a year, and there were so many people saying, "Oh, you've got a lovely voice." I finally believed them. So it's there partly because of them that Relax was made.
Well, sometimes it just takes a few people to tell you, confidence is the most difficult thing to acquire in this business. That will make or break anybody in entertainment, be you a singer, an actor. And when you're doing an audiobook, you're doing a voice act, basically. And it really is about confidence. You can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't have confidence, you will fail. There are people out there who have succeeded in this business, who have minimal talent, but they have tremendous confidence and they have tremendous drive. I've met both sides. I've met people who had incredible talent, just unbelievable talent. They didn't have the drive, they didn't have the confidence, and they mistakenly thought that their talent alone would just sort of send them to the top of the mountain. And in fact, it doesn't. They'll get left in the dust if they don't work, because there's somebody who has half their talent but twice the confidence and twice the drive that will succeed. And it's funny, you think, well, the most talented person should be the most successful. It doesn't work that way. So the fact that you gain some confidence from the Periscope people, I think that's tremendous. And get it wherever you can get it from.
And you also helped as well, because you introduced me to radio and with the Periscope girl and everything. Though that character wasn't actually me, so that was safer to be. It's safer to be somebody else because you're play acting it, isn't it? But then you also were really kind and produced my short run radio show for a while and did a wonderful job on that. So if anybody else is thinking of having a radio show or making an audiobook, I definitely recommend Douglas Coleman.
Oh, thank you.
Who is you're probably the most professional person I know. You work the hardest and you like everything to be perfect, but you're not mean about it. You're very patient. You take the time to explain it fully. You could just say, oh, you do this, but you never do that. You always say, oh, this is how it's supposed to be, and you do little pictures and you break it down. And I can't sing your praises enough. And I know you're a talented singer as well on top of all of that. So thank you. I found the review I was going to read, if that's right. Should I read it?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's on Amazon. I've just noticed I've got 3 reviews now, so I had another one while I've been on air with you.
Okay.
But keep them coming because I need 50 and then I get featured on Amazon. So this is says by Coleman. It was written on the 4th of July. And it says, she calls her dog her little friend, by the way. So it might be confusing if you've just tuned in. We're talking about a dog here. I got this when my little friend was ill and diagnosed with congestive heart failure. Within a few days he passed and my heart was broken. Last night I listened for the first time and it was so soothing. It was like having a dear friend praying with you. Her voice is so soft and gentle and I felt so comforted. It truly did relax me to sleep and ease my pain.
That's nice.
I probably didn't read it very well.
No, that's all right. Read one more. We've got time for one more.
Okay, I'll go back to the other one. This is by Dan Thompson, author, England. I, like a lot of people, have had the misfortune of losing a pet. In fact, I have had to put 2 of my dogs to sleep, both through old age. It is something many of us will have to go through at some point, but pain, upset and grief that follows is simply indescribable. Many people don't get why you're so upset, but pets aren't simple commodities. They are a member of your family. This audiobook is fantastic, soul-relaxing piece of art that combines relaxing, soothing voice with humbling music that gradually sends you off to sleep. Great stuff.
Oh, that's
Would you like me to read that again?
No.
It was the first time I read it.
That's all right. You were fine. We do have to wrap this up, though. We are out of time. I do want to thank you for coming on. Do you have a main website that people can come to? You tell us.
Yeah, it's www.janeyates.co.uk.
Okay, super. And that has links to all your books. And
yep. Thank you so much, Douglas.
Oh, you're very welcome. And it's nice chatting with you again. Take care.
Thank you.
And let's hope the book continues to do well.
Yes. Let's hope it helps some people.
Yes.
Let's hope it helps some people with their pain. And even those who haven't got pain but can't sleep, let's help them sleep.
Yes, I hope so. Okay, Jane, thank you very much. Well, that's about all the time we've got for the show today. I want to thank my special guests, Kim Introdonato and Jane Yates. This is Douglas Coleman saying goodbye.
To the